They told you this was just a gimmick. They told you the masked men were nobody. They told you Seth Rollins was just playing mind games and that sooner or later, WWE would expose it all as one big nothing burger. Well, Monday Night Raw just made every single one of those people look like fools. Because what happened inside that Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, Texas on March 16, 2026 was not just a wrestling angle. It was a calculated, cold-blooded, genius-level power move that Seth Rollins has been building for weeks. And if you still don't understand why this matters, why this changes the entire landscape heading into WrestleMania 42, then sit down, strap in, and don't you dare click away. Because by the end of this video, your entire perspective on what WWE is doing right now is going to be flipped upside down. And I promise you are going to want to share this one. Segment 1 set the scene. Let's go back. Let's rewind. Because you cannot understand what happened on Raw this past Monday without understanding the weeks of chaos that led us here. For weeks now, Monday Night Raw has been haunted. There is no other word for it. Week after week, a sea of masked men, identical, silent, terrifying in numbers, have been flooding ringside, storming barriers, swarming around Paul Heyman, pulling Logan Paul away from segments, dragging Austin Theory into corners, creating absolute mayhem every single time the Vision tried to assert their dominance on the show. And every week, WWE Universe was asking the same burning question: who are these people? Paul Heyman, battered, bruised, his face looking like he'd lost a fight with a parking lot, was desperate for answers. Logan Paul was furious. Austin Theory wanted blood. And Adam Pearce? He was trying to hold the whole show together while chaos reigned around him. The masked men became the story. Not just a side plot. The story. Every week they showed up, they took someone out, they shifted the power. And every week, the identity of whoever was underneath those masks remained one of the most compelling mysteries in WWE. Then came March 16th, 3/16 Day, people, in Texas of all places, and WWE delivered something nobody fully expected in the way it happened. Segment 2, the reveal that broke the internet. The show hadn't even gotten its boots on when it happened. The opening seconds of Raw, and I mean seconds, saw that familiar flood of masked men pour into the ringside area once again. The arena immediately erupted. Fans on their feet, security scrambling, the commentary team losing their minds trying to describe what they were seeing. And then one masked man broke from the pack. He stepped inside the ring. He reached up and pulled the mask off. Seth freakin' Rollins, the visionary, the architect, the man who has been 3 steps ahead of every single person on that roster for the past several months, standing in the center of that ring, grinning like a man who had just won a chess match that nobody else even knew was being played. Let that sink in for a second. Seth Rollins wasn't just sending the masked men. Seth Rollins was one of the masked men. He had been hiding in plain sight. He had been moving among his own army, invisible, untouchable, watching everything unfold from behind a mask while everyone looked past him trying to find him. This is the genius of Seth Rollins that too many people refuse to give him credit for. This man does not make moves. He constructs systems. He builds frameworks. The masked men were never just hired muscle, they were cover. They were camouflage. They were a tactical weapon that allowed the most dangerous man on Raw to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And WWE? They let it breathe. They let it build. Week after week after week, they let the mystery deepen until the moment the reveal landed like a thunderbolt in San Antonio. Now here's where it gets even better, because Seth didn't just take his mask off and let the crowd cheer. No, he grabbed a microphone and went to war. Segment 3, Rollins promo and the war on Heyman. Seth Rollins stood in that ring and declared, with absolute certainty, that he created the Vision, and he would be the one to destroy it. Read that again slowly. The man who built the faction is now the man hunting it down. He looked down the camera and issued a warning that sent chills down the spine. Anyone standing next to Paul Heyman should consider themselves marked for death. He described in vivid, terrifying detail how satisfying it was to stomp Paul Heyman's head into that mat. How every day Heyman stays in this business, Seth will make him pay for it. He called bringing Heyman into his inner circle the worst mistake he ever made. He called Heyman a cancer. And he swore on everything that he would cut him off. Now I need you to understand something about this promo. This wasn't just a good wrestling promo. This was a man who felt betrayed. A man who feels the sting of someone he trusted turning around and weaponizing everything he built. The rage in Seth Rollins' voice wasn't performance. It was personal. And just when it seemed like Seth had taken total control of that moment, Paul Heyman appeared, disheveled, beaten up, one eye bruised and swollen. But Paul Heyman, to his credit, has never needed to be in good physical condition to be the most dangerous man in any room. He grabbed a microphone, and instead of begging, instead of backing down, he looked Seth dead in the eye and essentially told him, "You F with me, I F with you back, and then you FAFO. FAFO. For the uninitiated, that means find out. And Paul Heyman's warning wasn't empty because within moments, Brock Lesnar's music hit. Segment 4. Brock Lesnar arrives and all hell breaks loose. Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate. A man who had been away, letting his WrestleMania Open challenge sit unanswered, building tension like a pressure cooker ready to explode. He walked out to that ramp. He looked around at the sea of Seth Rollins' masked men, and according to people at ringside, he smiled. Like a predator who just found his prey outnumbered and unprepared. What followed was one of the most viscerally satisfying destruction sequences WWE has produced in years. Lesnar didn't negotiate. He didn't talk. He went through those masked men like they were cardboard cutouts. German suplex after German suplex. Bodies flying. One masked man got launched into the steel steps. Another got suplexed into the barricade so hard the whole structure shook. 3 of them jumped him simultaneously in the ring and he threw them aside like they were nothing, then German suplexed one clean into the mat. Brock Lesnar was sending a message. Not just to Seth Rollins but to everyone. This is what happens when you put yourself between the beast and what he wants. But Seth Rollins? Seth Rollins is too smart for a straight fight. While Lesnar was demolishing his army, Rollins slipped away. Because that's what Seth does. He doesn't run from fear, he retreats to strike again on his own terms. And the smirk on his face while Lesnar tossed his men around? That told you everything. Seth expected this. He planned for this. And then the lights went out. Segment 5. Obafemi changes everything. When the arena went dark and then came back, Obafemi was standing there. The ruler. The Nigerian powerhouse who has been quietly, methodically, building towards something massive. And he was standing right next to Brock Lesnar with a look on his face that said, "This is my moment." Obafemi hit Brock Lesnar with a fall from grace, one of the most devastating finishing moves in WWE today, and put the beast down. Then he turned, pointed at the WrestleMania sign, and the arena went absolutely insane. Just like that, the WrestleMania match was made. Brock Lesnar vs. Obafemi, confirmed for WrestleMania 42. And while that's a massive match in its own right, a clash of two absolute monsters that is going to be must-see television, it also means Seth Rollins' war is not over yet. Because if Lesnar is going to WrestleMania with Obafemi, then Seth Rollins is still out there. Still armed. Still dangerous. Still carrying a personal vendetta against Paul Heyman and the vision that has no clean ending in sight. This isn't resolved. If anything, Monday's Raw made things more complicated for everyone involved. Segment 6. Roman Reigns and the bloodline tension. Now let's talk about the other massive elephant in the room, Roman Reigns. The tribal chief made his return to Raw on this night, and the building felt at the moment his music hit. But Roman wasn't here to make peace. He was here because 2 weeks ago, CM Punk crossed a line that even by WWE standards was extraordinary. Punk told Reigns on live television that he was going to bury him next to his father. His deceased father, Sika. That's not a wrestling promo. That's a personal attack. And the fact that Punk didn't just walk it back, the fact that when the Usos confronted him about it on behalf of the family, he doubled down and turned it into a lesson about how Roman used to gaslight and abuse those same Usos for years, proved that CM Punk is not just the world heavyweight champion. He is the most psychologically dangerous man in WWE right now. When Roman Reigns came back to address all of this, the intensity in that building was unlike anything we've seen in the build to their WrestleMania match. And then Punk showed up. And what happened next? CM Punk dropped Roman Reigns. Laid him out. A physical exclamation point that made their WrestleMania match feel less like a scheduled event and more like a blood feud. And here's what nobody is talking about enough: LA Knight is watching all of this. He pulled the Usos aside backstage and flat out told them, if the old bloodline is coming back, we cannot be on the same page. He offered a fist bump. Jimmy took it. G did not. That detail right there? That's the seed of something that could blow up everything before WrestleMania even happens. The Usos are not unified. GUSO is not fully trusting the process. And with Roman Reigns getting physically embarrassed by CM Punk on national television, the pressure on that family unit is at a boiling point. Segment 7. The bigger picture and WrestleMania implications. Step back for a second and look at the full picture of what Monday Night Raw gave us heading into WrestleMania 42. Seth Rollins revealed himself as the architect of the masked men army, confirming that the Vision's greatest enemy isn't just a rebel, he's a ghost who walks among them undetected. His war with Paul Heyman is deeply personal, deeply strategic, and far from over. Brock Lesnar came back swinging and walked into a WrestleMania match with Obafemi, a collision of titans that was set up in one of the most dramatic moments of the whole year. CM Punk physically dropped Roman Reigns and the road to WrestleMania is no longer a slow build, it's a runaway freight train. The Usos are cracking from the inside, with G refusing LA Knight's peace offering while Jimmy seems more open to the idea of building alliances outside the bloodline. AJ Lee retained her Women's Intercontinental Championship against Bayley in what might have been the most underrated match of the night, reminding everyone that this title scene is absolutely stacked with talent. Penta held onto the Intercontinental Championship against Dragon Lee in what people at ringside were calling one of the best matches of the year so far on Raw. Every single storyline heading into WrestleMania 42 took a giant step forward on this night, and the masked men reveal Seth Rollins pulling off that mask in the opening seconds was the moment that set the whole night on fire. Segment 8: the real question we need to answer. But here's what I need you to think about, because this is where Ring Rumble 1 goes deeper than the highlights. Seth Rollins said he created the vision, and he will be the one to destroy it. So here's the real question: was this always the plan? Was Seth Rollins always building the vision as a weapon he intended to eventually turn on? Did he bring Paul Heyman in knowing that Heyman would eventually try to take control and betray him? And did he deliberately let it happen so that he could become the underdog rebel who tears the whole thing down? Because if that's true, if Seth Rollins engineered his own betrayal so that he could play the hero of his own story, then we are not just watching a WWE angle. We are watching a masterpiece of long-term storytelling from a man who understands the business at a level that most superstars never reach. And this is the darker possibility: Rollins was genuinely burned, genuinely hurt. And everything we're seeing is a man consumed by a fury that can only end one way. Either way, Seth Rollins is must-watch television. And any version of WrestleMania 42 that doesn't have the visionary at its center is a WrestleMania that isn't living up to its full potential. Close call to action. Drop in the comments right now: do you think Seth Rollins planned all of this from the beginning? Or did Paul Heyman genuinely outsmart him and now Seth is in revenge mode? I want your takes. I want the debate. Because this is what wrestling is supposed to feel like. If you believe Seth Rollins is the most brilliant mind in WWE right now and Monday proved it, smash that like button and share this video with every wrestling fan you know who needs to see this breakdown. And if you're not subscribed to Ring Rumble 1 yet, what are you doing? We don't do fluff. We don't do filler. We come to this channel to talk about wrestling the way it deserves to be talked about. WrestleMania 42 is coming, and the road there just got a whole lot more dangerous. Stay locked in. Ring Rumble 1. We'll see you in the next one.